Hi, I'm back with the Prokofiev sixth, first movement, and I'm at measure 92. Più mosso del tempo primo. I just got out of this transition figure. And he's okay, so I must admit, even looking it up, I'm not 100% sure of più mosso del tempo primo, how it compares with poco più mosso of the second theme. It's obvious that it's faster than tempo primo. It also uses this rather lovely melodic design in a rather unlovely but equally melodic design. Both you have the canonic entries that are a significant part of this passage. I'm just going to go with instinct and choose a tempo that allows the sweep of those arpeggiations and the repeated notes to not sound notey. I want there to be a sense of long-linedness here so that the orchestral effects of having these smatterings of thematic elements get to be tossed around with a sense of ease. That's my goal anyway. So, we're in C there. First sort of A minor. Whoops. I had worked out a fingering I liked. So that I may as well reinforce that there's the hand group. Goes from B to F sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's very nice. And then I turn to 1, 3. So. Taking the low A with my left hand after the right hand played it. I guess I'm in the best position to shape it with my right hand first, so I'll go with his suggestion. To figure out if I can figure out his choices, of course. Right now what he's doing is going into an F sharp minor chord. And of course, as is his wont, he doesn't give an F sharp minor outline in the right hand, he gives an F sharp diminished, so there's the wonderful clash of C and C sharp. When we get back to C, it's not, you see it harmonic environment, it's in a D minor 7th environment. Okay, so now he extends the idea. Rather than coming back down the first time, it comes back down. Meanders around. Let's see, after one measure, less than one measure, he's turned back around and he retraces his steps. Second time, he creates a twice as large an arpeggiation, goes for a whole 2-measure ride up and down. Up. Got to remember the F minor 7th, minor major 7th at the top. one of those things. It's not terribly difficult, but without looking at where I'm going, it's much more difficult, at least for now, until I'm assured of these intervals. For the same kind of tricky intervals I had before in the left hand in a previous video. These are well underhand. When I make the turn, it's just a minor third from black to white, very easy. Going from black to white here, a major third requires much more positional awareness because it's easy to not get there. What I'm trying to do is develop a sense of connection. Not that I won't look, but that I don't want to have to. I want to feel that the delivery to the F is effortless and automatic. So by drilling a simple, organically convincing gesture, I'm more likely to trust that larger chunk. So that's what I was doing. There it is. Let's see. This is the first version. And then I'll probably want to look up there anyway. Twice. Third time. Okay. First time is just, I've held this D minor 7th chord for an extended period of time, and then it launches into this. Oh, I'm wrong. Hold it a little longer. Feel that hesitation? And then it's interesting. Yeah, I have to guide my thought process. I'm telling myself go to E, then go to F. Go to E, go to F. I'm telling myself to do is to let go of the chord a little bit early. Right now I'm not using any pedal. I can't possibly hold it for full value without using a pedal. And if I use pedal, I violate the articulation. So what I need to do, interpretively, is to decide how long I'm going to hold these notes that are supposed to last to the end of the measure, but in reality can't possibly. So, as I grow, I was going to say as I grow in confidence, but there's just going to be a specific amount of time that I will allot myself that guarantees I get there in time. Let go as early as I need to, but not so early that I'm sitting there waiting. So that's my version of a whole note and dotted half note. Otherwise, it would be that. It's nonsensical. I guess the alternative would be to use the sostenuto. Possibilities. Certainly. I don't know. What do you think? Anyway. So the last time note above it, not on the note I left. So we're on C sharp, D. Okay, it's going to get more fragmented. Should also note, when I get down to the bottom here, this is mezzo forte, a little innocuous looking dim, so I'm going to make it graphical with a greater than sign. And now it's piano. And this next entry is piano. Okay, this is where I'm not convinced I understand Prokofiev, because he's written piano on 111, but the first note of this actually sung B theme, it has an accent on it. Oh, look at me. I've written mezzo forte. I've already made this decision. I've already come through here and decided that I'm going to impose on that accent, a mezzo forte, so that there will be a pronounced sense of thematic arrival, that D gets noticed. Okay, all right. When he first decides to let us in on his secret, he's going to combine the A and the B motives. I'm just acting right now. Okay, so I'm getting more and more hysterical. There's just so much he starts to pull in here. More and more events, augmentation, triplets, certainly displacements all over the keyboard. Becomes more and more orchestral. I just wanted to see, at least visually, what would stick. It's too hard to play entirely from the music because there's so much jumping around, but I was curious to know what would come back immediately. And some of it did, and some of it didn't. So, anyway, we're going to go back to 111. So, it was on D, it's been transposed down, up a half step, down a half step, which Prokofiev loves to do, alas. So finger substitute. Get my fourth finger in the left hand. This is an interesting note to get to. It's not that easy to get to. I've got to think about it. To the keyboard by the held note. So it's all from, again, I've got to let go of the held note earlier than when Prokofiev says. He says it's a whole note tied for 3.5 measures. That's a long time for any piano note to be held. Let me just show you. 1 and 2. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. Well, it still has presence. It certainly would have been long gone if I were playing this piece on the harpsichord. But letting go is not as significant because it's lost a great deal of its intensity. So I'm going to I have to let go early. And meanwhile, at least my right hand has plenty of time to find its way. There's a whole half measure. A moment or two ago was fingering, finding the right notes under my hand with all this flurry of activity. So I see I've written 5/5 and then 4/3 2 1. I wonder why. Well, okay, that's why. It works. I had a brilliant idea. Without an explanation. About me when I was running through it. My wits would have allowed me to say, okay, now place your hand on that A octave. And also shift your fifth finger to the left hand to get ready for this third. And so, okay, so already I feel that the fragmentation is not mystifying or mysterious or anything. It's just what it is. I need to become used to it. That's all. So, okay, so by 1:15, I have to say there's something very interesting about 1:20 that I hadn't noticed before. All of the uses of this A theme tend to start with a minor third. Here's we are in A major minor. So the top two notes of A major, and then A minor. So it's major, minor third, major third. Here we have in 1:16, same thing in D major minor. At 1:20, it's the first time I can recall. There's no minor, just the major chord, and then it's back to and then 124 at the end. It's back to it stays major, and then so it's when the anacrusis, if it's an anacrusis, is isolated. When there's an isolated note, it tends to be minor. When it's more quickly integrated, it tends not to be that. Now let me see the fast ones. In this case, it's still an eighth note followed by 16th in quick succession, but here, when there's time, he tends to, excuse me, when there is. Okay, I'm not torn. I just don't know yet why, if I can make a generalization about all the times in which he goes from major to minor, and the few times here that change. Stays, changes, stays. Interesting. interesting enough that I have to note it because I've got to learn it, of course. So. Repeated note, not repeat noted. Those mean two completely different things. Interesting. There's going to be a lot of these held notes that will be held for an indeterminate amount of time. This is a half note, but I can't hold it for a half note. So unless I'm really, really involved with my sostenuto pedal, and I rather suspect it's just a question of moving when it's appropriate to move, and just as with Bach, taking the long notes as representing spacers more than full durations. So. Something I would not normally notate, but I'm going down to fifth on this beat, and then I want 4, 3, and 1. If I just typically go indicate 4, I will tend to want to go to 3. So I'm reminding myself by playing a double 4. 4, 3, and that will do it for me. And then when I have these isolated repeated notes, to change fingers. But you know what? Here I won't, because it's a busyness. It's not necessary. Repeated notes are not hard to play on an individual note. And they also make me a little bit readier for the other times where I'll be doing 3, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4. So 4, 4, 4, 4, no big deal. So I'm going to just remind myself of that. 4, 4, 3, 3. And even more so, 4, 4. So. That's interesting, because this time I had written 4, 3, 2, and this is at 27, 127. I think I'm mistaken. I think these repeated notes are so slow, relative to virtuoso repeated notes, that sort of Mozart-like, when Mozart writes repeated notes, for example, they're typically slow enough that you can execute them just reiterating the gesture. I tend to walk on the key. And I think it provides a stabilizing for all of the jumping around, and particularly for the setting up of those slurs on 3-1. So. Going to 5 in 131, because it certainly sets up the leap really, really well. I'm just still in not a quandary or an internal conflict. I haven't decided whether I should use more repeated fingers. When it's really long, like 129, so fancy here. I'm going 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 1 on the downbeat because that's what I usually do. But I think I may skip a finger and just go 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, because it sets me up better for 4 on the third downbeat on 131. So. Did I say something about placing that A octave? Partly I was distracted by my left hand, which should have been automatic. 5. It's easy enough. 5. I needed a 5th finger. Okay, so this is obviously the most far-ranging part. It jumps around like crazy. This whole section does quite a bit. So I have to calm it down. I've got to make it simple. 128, 5th finger. Such a zingy note. Second finger. Hadn't written anything on this. It just fits the intervals best. Boy, this goes crazy, and I wish there weren't a page turn here, so I'm going to do something about it, if I remember. Third finger. See, I was of two minds. I put in 2 alternate fingerings. I haven't erased one. What I discovered. Called Pugno with the fist, so I'm looking forward to this. survive that far, the next fragment will not be quite as challenging, but this jumps around quite a bit. It's not inherently physically that difficult, but it jumps around quite a bit, so it's disorienting, and it's not possible to read it with great comfort unless I slow it way, way down, and then I run the risk of losing the fluency and the challenge of how to choreograph where my attention and where my body goes. So I've got to find a happy medium that makes me find fluency in this section. I've got to keep track of the time because I will run out of it soon. But let's see. I don't need that. Let's see. Placing that A, right? Place the A. I really should be integrating my sostenuto use into my playing, even though normally when I practice damper pedal, sometimes if I practice it too early, unless it's so structurally significant, as in a place where I'm looking for a legato that I can only create through the pedal, unless it's that kind of structurally significant, I don't want to color unduly what I'm doing, throw lots of overtones into the air when I'm not absolutely sure that I've clarified what I'm doing at the keyboard. In this case, however, it's one of those situations when the use of the sostenuto is so integrated into what I do gesturally and mentally that I need to encourage myself when I see sostenuto, or S as I've been putting it often. That's got to be a part of almost my finger, my hand, my arm, the physical practice, the primary physical practice. So here, for example. That was pretty good. Which is to say, it was clear. Decisions it was accurate, it was clear. The decisions I was making in time. Well, obviously I miscaught the sostenuto there. Just check it out. Yes. If I don't have my page turn done, there's got to be a point at which I pass judgment on whether I've done the turn in my head. In other words, can I go and feel, okay, there's no longer a page turn fear or page turn discontinuity. I have to get to this spot because there's a major physical challenge and mental challenge right at the page turn. So I need to know that I can go into autopilot and trust it. So that way, when I won't be turning the page in my head all the time. I won't be feeling a demarcation point, but rather a feeling that what comes before. Whoops. B flat. That's it. I notice that's really useful to me to practice the connective figure. Yes. Let me see. made up my mind about the 3 and the 4. So I'm erasing 4 and making a very big 3. And then I'm wrong about stopping there. That is not the point of accomplishment. If I don't get in those 2 A's, which happen right away, 8 notes later, I won't have the continuity of that page turn. So. And I have not written the fingering either. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Although 1 and 2 are all involved in playing the previous chords, by using 2, I'm able to get to thumb to complete the gesture and move in on the keyboard. And for me, it works better than going 1, 1, I think. Maybe not. You know what? I think I'm asking for trouble. I'm just going to go 1, 1. What most people probably would have done in the first place. Sometimes I have to admonish myself not to overthink or get too smart alecky, as it were. Yeah. Sure, why not? I'm in the mode of 7th chord. 2 7s, then the triad, then another 7th chord, and another. So it's A minor chord. It's the odd chord up. So it's a nice settling quality. Right. Too many thoughts because I'm worried about that and I'm worried about the A. So I'm going to slow it down. First there, then this, then this. It's really interesting how when you recombine the experiences, or when you have the experience from just a slightly different starting place, or when you make demands on yourself of a certain sort, that there's that risk that you run into that temporary wall. Now, look at this, for example. I am staring at the camera, and I'm just tossing this. Well, okay, I'm missing the A, but I know where it is. And it's not a question of confidence. I know what I'm doing. It's clear, but for the inaccuracy. So, but when I go to here, the fact that I'm going to concern myself with this lead makes this fragment harder to feel. I can trust it. But let me take a bigger mental breath. Start. Exactly, I figured that. Stop. So this has become kind of unified, which I like. At that time, what I did is I very consciously stared at where I was going to go, particularly the A minor, because that's the hardest place, not the B flat 7th. So let me slow it down and describe it to you. I'm staring at weirdly, the environment of the A flat, which is the thumb note of my B flat 7th, and then of the C, which is the thumb note of my A minor. So, look up there. If I'm looking at A flat, I just figured that out. I'm looking at A flat, and then I quickly shift my gaze to C. So, A flat, and C, and then the high A. That's an important part of it. Coming out to this F sharp minor 7th. Let's see. I'm staring intently at my left hand keys. So the question then becomes, what happens when I add my right hand? That's what's going to happen. So I will need fast foot for my sostenuto, which I like here. And luckily, the right hand has its part interspersed with rests. And it's on an E. Very easy to find the F. So. And interestingly enough, why is that E interesting? Oh, because it's the E that we were left with melodically. The right hand had this augmented. So we remember the E. And then there it is again. He's going to reiterate it too. I certainly don't want to still have that sostenuto on. That would be a killer. It's only it should be off by now. Am I maybe too fast? Perhaps so. Not because it's not playable, but because I'm not sure there can't afford to be any kind of real frenzy. Certainly not physical frenzy, I won't be able to play it. But I don't want there to be a musical frenzy either. I want there to be a clear sense that this slow-moving melody moves with a sense of ease against the chatter of the other parts. So. Oh, that's good. So. Let me slow that down a bit. I have to practice catching the sostenuto in between the two eighths of the left hand. There we go. I should have been off way longer. And that's where I should be off. Practice it very obviously, overtly. Off. Sorry, off left, down foot. Off foot. There we go. One foot. One foot. Off foot. Interesting thing, I noticed that now that I'm learning the notes, I can actually refer to the music more because the geography of it is more obvious. So sometimes I need to do that as positive reinforcement. I've got so many instructions I'm slinging at myself. Foot instructions, placement of hands, notes, fingerings. let go early enough on the foot. Let go. That was good. Okay. Let me go. No. Okay, I'm going on. Good that the right hand thumb note is still there. Just twice, okay. Then it repeats. And I believe, yes, in this whole section, it's been the lower octave, this octave, and now we're up further. I hope I don't look forward to that too much. Okay, it's almost time to quit. Longer. Just because it's the fifth doesn't mean I have to hit it with all my might. If I do, it wouldn't sound so hot. So. I like my hand division. The upper octave again. So I'm going 5, 2, 3, 5. That's nice. Spaces the hand properly. Got a fingering here. Not one I can read. Oh, it's third, I think. There's a subtlety of which voice gets which notes. Single note on the third beat of 144, then a double note, then the single notes in the bass. So. Wow. Getting through the steepest part of the curve here. I'm going to take a break, and certainly when I come back, this is the area I'm going to come back to. I can see much of what it demands, and I'm also feeling pretty good. So, pretty good is good.